Shortly before Apollo 11 reached the moon in 1969, the following conversation took place between Mission Control in Houston and Michael Collins.
Among the large headlines concerning Apollo this morning is one asking that you watch for a lovely girl with a big rabbit. An ancient legend says a beautiful Chinese girl called Chang'e has been living there for 4,000 years. It seems she was banished to the moon because she stole the pill of immortality from her husband. You might also look for her companion, a large Chinese rabbit, who is easy to spot since he is always standing on his hind feet in the shade of a cinnamon tree. The name of the rabbit is not reported. Okay, we'll keep a close eye for the bunny girl.
Intriguing, isn't it? When Hou Yi, the master archer and the legendary hero, saved the land and the people by shooting down 9 of the 10 scorching suns, he received the elixir of immortality from Xi Wangmu, Queen Mother Goddess of the West, as a token of appreciation, a divine gift that will heal all wounds and sickness by small doses, enough for both him and his wife, Chang'e, to gain immortality if consumed in full. A sad day came to the loving couple when Hou Yi was out hunting one day. One of his students, Peng Meng, stormed into the house and demanded Chang'e to hand him the elixir, afraid that he would use it for evil purposes, yet unable to defeat him. Chang'e swallowed the entirety in panic. She immediately became light and started to ascend beyond her control. She rose and rose until she finally landed on the moon. The Lady of the Moon was not alone. Beside the unique building of Guanghan Gong, the Moon Palace, there lived a woodcutter, Wu Gang, who was punished to cut down a self-healing osmanthus tree for eternity. Also, Yu Tu, Jade Rabbit, the divine medicine maker, who is always seen with mortar and pestle. Note that the Japanese and Korean versions rabbit are the maker of mochi and rice cake, perhaps due to the tsukimi and chuseok practices linked to the harvest, but nonetheless, the rabbit on the moon. You might find both Chang'e and Yu Tu's name familiar, as the names of robotic spacecrafts and rovers for China's mission to the moon. They are the prominent symbols of the Mid-Autumn Festival, or the Moon Festival in the East, one of the major holidays in many Asian countries. However, that would be a story for another time. Many cultures, when looking at the moon, see the outline of a hare or rabbit who lives on the moon. They are often seen as an intermediary between the lunar deities and humans. Rabbits make numerous appearances in the Aztec legends, beside the 400 drunken rabbit gods sent on to Totin. The Aztec creation myth tells one of the few man-on-the-moon stories representative in the world of mythology, as opposed to the many examples of a lady on the moon. As a people who believe the universe is dominated by generations of sun gods, after the 4 suns perish, the Aztec gods assemble on Teotihuacan to choose the next sun, who would take on the duty to illuminating the one world. The gods ask, and Proud takes his decade, and the humble Nanawatsin volunteer. A great fire that burned for 4 days was prepared, and the one who would be the sun god would have to leap into the fire. And 4 times Texas Descartes tried to fling himself into the flames, but at the last moment held back. The humble Nanawatsin, however, threw himself straight in and became the 5th sun god, Tonatiuh. Ashamed, Texas Descartes and followed him into the fire, and 2 suns appeared in the sky. The gods wouldn't stand for this, so they threw a rabbit into the face of Texas Descartes to diminish his brightness, and so he became Mesli the moon god, with the figure of a rabbit especially visible during the full moon. In the Egyptian Old Kingdom settlement of Hemenu, home of the Ogdoa, a center worship of god Thoth, commonly known as Hermopolis, so named by the Greeks as they equated Thoth with messenger god Hermes, with Thoth at the epicenter. Next to Thoth was the hare goddess Unut or Wennet. In the earliest times, Wennet was first identified as a snake-headed goddess, and then became associated with the hare and the moon. We learn about her connection to the underworld from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. In the Egyptian myth, hare was also closely associated with the cycles of the moon, masculine when waxing and feminine when waning. A hare-headed god and goddess can be seen on the Egyptian temple walls of Dendera, believed to be the goddess Wennet, and the male the god Wenenu, representation of Osiris, who was sacrificed to the Nile annually in the form of a hare. Hares are also known to be spiritual significant to the Celts, linked to the mysterious other world of the supernatural. Admired for their strength and speed, they were also noted for being active at night and therefore associated with the moon. Shapeshifters in the Celtic lore were often said to take the form of the hare. Eostra, the Celtic version of Ostra, where many believe the name Easter is derived from, was a fertility goddess associated with the moon, representation of death, redemption, and resurrection during the turning of winter to spring. She too was a shapeshifter who would take the shape of a hare at each full moon. Goddess Andred, or Andraste, as the Romans call her, is said to be the patron goddess of the famous Iceni warrior queen Boudica, who led the Britons in rebellion against the Romans. Although Andraste was often depicted as a warrior goddess who was invoked before the battle in hopes of gaining victory, she was also a lunar goddess, with a hare as a symbol. The Celts used rabbits and hares for divination and other shamanic practices. It is said that the goddess left Boudica the entrails of a hare as an augury of victory in her uprising against Emperor Nero's forces. In the more familiar Greek myths, we have Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, who later is also depicted as a lunar goddess. Newborn hares were not to be killed, but left to her protection. In Norse mythology, Freya, goddess of love, beauty, warfare, death, and magic, also a goddess of the full moon. She traveled with a sacred hare and boar in chariot drawn by cats. In the classic Mayan art, the moon goddess is often shown holding a rabbit. In Ugrian myths and Celtes, the shape-shifting moon goddess of western Siberia, like to roam the hills in the form of a hare. The association of hares, rabbits with moon deities lives through myths, legends, and folk tales all around the world. I could go on with many more examples. However, that will take us deeper down the rabbit hole. Many ancient cultures consider every aspect of life to be an aspect of the divine, be it a symbol of death, redemption, and rebirth, a symbol of yin and yang, representation of sweet innocent or trickster personality, to the commonly seen 3 hares symbols all around the churches in Britain. The connection of our fairy friends along with the celestial body and the community are beyond doubt. Their popularity shone throughout literature and popular culture, from Beatrice Porter's Peter Rabbit, the White Rabbit in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Usagi Tsukino, literally means the Moon Rabbit in the famous Sailor Moon animation, the Killer Rabbit or Cabanok in Monty Python, to Frank the Rabbit in Donnie Darko, and not to forget the annual Easter Trail. Their popularity never gone away. 2023 welcome to Lunar Year of Rabbit, or in the Chinese language, Tu Nian. And note that Tu is a general term for Labor Day, and so it can be translated as hare or rabbit. Year of the Rabbit, or Year of the Hare, I dare say is also the Year of the Moon.